Tricky, 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 tricky. All right, did we actually start up? Yes, we did. Okay, I show an excellent connection. Twitch is running. Sensational. Let me just hit my little post buttons here. And, okay. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, I don't care about that. Okay. The Shellshire. What a great name for something. Okay. Quick. All right. That's all I should need my keyboard for, unless somebody pops into the chat. I will keep the keyboard. Unlike my normal dumb way of doing things, I'm going to angle the keyboard in such a way that I don't have to move it to type. Normally, I'm not that smart. Oh, I just realized it's showing a blank screen, so let's pop that up, because you're not looking at anything anyway. There's something actually entertaining to look at, to a degree, instead of just a blank.
Got mail, man.
Okay, yes, I know. Is it me? Yes, I'm live. I know I'm live. Sorry about that. Let's do this, and there we are, and I will turn that in a second, and all I have to do, because I planned a little bit ahead this time, just enough ahead that I can, I don't care about what's new, I truly don't. Okay, let's see here, hold on, let me go to this, and I just need to copy that text and paste it right here, bam! Yes. Please wait, okay, paste, perfection, and I gotta post it one more place, which is right about here. And post, bang, post. And then do a repost of that right here. Okay, come on. And repost right there. Okay. All right, perfect. Let me grab my iPad here. And I will do the wide angle on this because I don't think it really matters. So it's easy enough to do it. And I think it's going to be easier for people to look at. Okay. That is now in place. Let's make that really nice and big. All right, then. Okay, whoa, did I just hit my screen? I sure did. No, I'm okay. Thought I screwed something up. Oh, you know what? I didn't grab a drink of water. All right, you guys are going to come with me. You folks are going to come with me as... Now, the mic might break up a little bit. If it does, it will come right back, I promise. I'm just looking for where I put my water glass, because I need some water. So I'm suspecting that this is going to be the edge of the reception for this thing. So you will hear a water sound. It's not me using the bathroom, I promise. It's me filling a water glass. Not saying it's a great sound to hear, but that's what it is. And I will not drink that much water in the entire stream, so I don't need to fill the glass. I'm coming back into range, just in case I faded out. Sorry about that. Was not trying to make your ears bleed or make crackling sounds or anything. I just realized I needed water. So, all right. Oh, hello, Faint Waves. That's great. That means the chat's working. Fantastic. I am well. I'm doing all right. How are you? I hope you're doing well. If you don't mind, I hope people don't mind if I just respond by talking as opposed to typing, because they'll just be easier. I haven't figured out... You know what? Since we have a minute here, since there's somebody actually in the chat... Yeah, see, I don't know that there is... Well, let me try this. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Let me just try something. Oh, jeez. Okay. That's miserable. Well, I didn't mean to do that. No, not display capture. Is there a way to do... Whoa! Look at all that stuff. Holy crap. Look at that. You can't see this, but there's a bunch of stuff. No, that's not it. No, it wouldn't be application capture, I guess. Oh, wait, dock. Oh, that's that dock. Oh, that's not what I was trying to talk about. No, I don't think it's going to work. Okay, well, I tried. I wanted to see... Okay, I was going to see if there was a way to put... There is some way. I just have to figure it out to have the chat appear on the screen. I know there's a way. I keep meaning to do. I keep forgetting about it because I've got you know, 3 brain cells all fighting for dominance. Anyway, let's get going here. But I'm pretty sure there is a way that I could have the chat appear so that people could see it. Anyway. Faint Waves, are you getting alerted or are you following a link? I'm assuming you get alerted, like through Twitch or something. That's my guess. Although last time I think you were on YouTube, so I don't know if you have it on both. Or if you're seeing where I post it and then you're using that link. Because I created a new landing page and I just wanted to make sure it was working. I'm pretty sure it is, but yeah, just in case. Okay, so... Oh, you get a notification. All right, that's fine. I figured it was something like that. I was just checking. So this is the mini-disc Dead Media hand that I'm working on. Oh, man, I hope I'm not getting an eye sty, but it feels like I am. I can't tell. Either that or my eyelid is just sore, but I have a hunch on your phone. Okay. When you wear contacts a lot, you tend to get eye styes. And it's been a while since I've had one, which means I'm probably due. Even though I am very meticulous in cleaning my contacts and everything else, it just is one of those things. Oh, I missed that knuckle. Let's fix that. Yep, I meant to mask out that knuckle. Yeah, this was a fun one. I think there was... I don't remember where the suggestion came... I think it was in the Beyond Synth Discord. Somebody had suggested... We were talking about, you know, the Dead Media stuff. Or somewhere. And somebody had said, mini-disc. And at first I said, well, mini-disc isn't dead. They still have mini-discs. But I was like, you know what? It's not exactly thriving. So sure, why not? I like drawing mini-discs and stuff. I like drawing. I'm not really good at technical drawing. But when I can do it and it's not terrible, I like to do it. I'm just not usually good at it. It's just the reality of it. I'm generally not. Okay, so, yeah. Oh, do I feel like doing all these little detail lines in this stream? Oh, it's a lot of little lines. Is that the right pen? Yeah, that's the right pen. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Well, let's turn on the... Which group is this? Which group is that? Oh, that's the tendons and stuff. That's the other mini disc. That is, in fact, labeled, so I should name this one Tendons, because that's what it is. And it's sketches, too, so... At this point, I can flatten this group, and I can move it... Oh, for just the way the screens were arranged on my monitor was throwing me off. It didn't look right to me, and then I realized what I was looking at. And it was just I was throwing myself off so far. I was like, what? My brain kind of locked up for a minute. Anyway, okay, so subdermals. Well, I shouldn't need. Oh, you know what I do need is shadows. That's the guiding thing for. Okay, so there's the rough shadow outlines. Okay, there we go. As a bit of a preview, Faint Waves, since you're here, curious what your thoughts on the announcement that there will be another Matrix film are. I'm going to do a 5 on it for tomorrow, but I was curious if you think that's going to be. I mean, we don't really. Oh, that's okay. It'll come back. That's just this. Just gotta wait a minute. Give that a second. I gotta get a new background too. There we go. Okay. That kind of crashes okay. Cause yeah, you know, when I first read that somebody had posted it in a Discord, they said, "Oh, there's gonna be a 5th Matrix movie by the guy who did Cabin in the Woods." Now this may be the first controversial opinion for people. I'm not the biggest fan of Cabin in the Woods. I know a lot of people really like that movie, and I appreciate its humor in being a kind of clever. Let's see. You saw that. I think it's somewhat good that it's not a Wachowski at the helm. Still exists. Yes, Wachowski's still involved. Yeah, and that's well. Okay, let's get to that in a minute. Let's start with Drew Goddard, who is the person, as far as I understand, who's going to be, based on the quote, I think Goddard proposed some idea, but he said we, so I'm guessing maybe it was either he's working with whichever Wachowski it is, I don't remember which, I don't think I saw the name of which of them that it is, that either he went to them with an idea, or that they maybe approached him, or they know each other, whatever, but he used the word we, as opposed to saying, well, I went to whichever Wachowski with an idea. But there was it's a very specific quote. I'll get to that in a minute. So Goddard I know he wrote some Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV episodes. I know he was involved in Lost. I seem to remember there was another show that I know that name from, and I can't remember. And the big thing that a lot of people know him from is Cabin in the Woods. And like I said, Cabin in the Woods it's fine. I've watched it twice. I watched it when it first came out because there was all this buzz around it. People were saying, oh, this is such a clever, this is really taking all the horror movie tropes and skewering them. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And I watched it, and like I said, I don't think it's bad. I don't think I would never have described it as bad. I think I did review it on the show, and I was just like, yeah, it's okay, but I was not impressed like some people were. Had some clever ideas. Some things I liked. And some things I thought were, a lot of things I just thought were okay. So that name being involved doesn't move the needle one way or another. I'll put it like that. Neither encouraging nor discouraging. I'm just like, okay. But the quote was interesting, because the quote was something along the lines of, and I don't have it memorized, but it's almost like two different things in one quote, which is what's fascinating about it. I think the quote was something along the lines of, we have a new idea that we're really excited about to continue the Matrix story, or something like that. And there's two really specific parts of that quote. The first part, which is new idea, right? So we'll set that one to the left. Then later on, to continue the Matrix universe. So we'll put that on the right, because those two words and those two phrases in the same sentence could mean radically different things. So when I first read, before I read the quote, when I first saw, oh, there's going to be a new Matrix film, a fifth Matrix film. It'd be 5, right? Because the first 3, the fourth, I don't know if the Animatrix is considered a Matrix film, but whatever. Let's just say a 5th mainstream live action film. So when I saw that, my first response was, why? Because honestly, I'm in eraser mode. I honestly, at first, my first reaction was just, I don't need more of this. I got everything I needed, honestly, in the first 3 films. I watched the 4th one. I thought the 4th one was a fascinating movie because it was so clearly not about the Matrix. I mean, it was guised in that, but it was really about exactly what's happening here, where clearly they were going to make another film, whether they were involved or not. I mean, the Matrix, what was it called? What was the 4th movie called? Whatever it was called, doesn't matter. Whatever the 4th one was called, basically predicted or presaged or knew this was coming, whatever phrase you want to use. It basically saw exactly where we're at with this 5th movie. So I don't really consider the 4th movie a Matrix film in the kind of pure sense. It's not a continuation of that. Oh, when that again? Hold on, get it back. At least it's easy to get it back. So the 4th movie almost exists in this weird non-state, where it is a Matrix film, and I enjoyed in a lot of ways what was being said in it, but I don't consider it the 4th Matrix film, not really, because it wasn't really continuing the story. It was making a comment about fandom and what people expect and what studios do and all the rest of it, which is fine. I'm fine with all that stuff, but it's not like it really continued the story. So this one, when they say we have a new idea to me means, oh, we're not doing a sequel, and we will probably not see any of the original characters in it. That's the new part, which when I hear that part, new idea, that's interesting to me, because I like a lot of the stuff that was not, I liked a lot of the media stuff that was done around the original movies. I like the first 3, including the 2nd and 3rd one. I know that's an unpopular opinion. I think the 2nd and 3rd movies are very entertaining. Are they as good as the first? No, they're not. That's pretty obvious. You can tell that the first one, like a lot of movies, the first one has an energy and I don't know, it has something to it that when they had unlimited money and the freedom to do everything, much like the prequels, there is a value in having restraint. There is a value in not just being able to do every single little thing that you want. I by no means think that the sequels have this terrible rap as being bad movies, and I simply don't agree with that. I think the second and third movies are perfectly entertaining. They're very fun. Are they as good as the first one? No, they're not. And part of that, to be fair to the sequels as well, and people just don't like to acknowledge this, but we know it's true, is The Matrix, when it first came out, the first movie, there wasn't anything like that around. It was, of course, a blender of a lot of existing ideas, but a lot of those existing ideas were only known to people who were into genre film. You know, so, of course, people who were big into kung fu movies and anime were like, well, yeah, that's Ghost in the Shell, and that's this, this Hong Kong action film. Well, yeah, but that's not what normal people were watching. That's why it's genre film. Most ordinary people weren't watching, Ghost in the Shell, and certainly not Ghost in the Shell 2. Those weren't things at that time that most people were watching. We're in a completely different era now, and we look backwards and don't remember that being a nerd was not something that a lot of people wanted to have associated with them. It was not cool. It wasn't fun. It wasn't the norm to be into this stuff. That's why if you go back like pre-2000, you didn't see a lot of superhero films. You didn't see a lot of these type of genre films that broke through like this. Those movies existed. They did have popularity, but it was sporadic. It was here and there. It wasn't you didn't have a Marvel film every year that, at least until recently, you could count on to make billions of dollars every time and that people would go to. That was not the scenario back then. So then The Matrix came out. It was this big thing. Everybody liked it. And of course, at that point, you've seen it and you know it. And so the sequels were never going to live up to that. They just were not. There was no way they were ever going to be able to get back to what that was. And that's what I mean about I think they get an unfair rap. I think people are overly critical. Hold on. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, the chat for YouTube isn't here. I just realized that's not showing up. Hold on. I doubt anybody's actually in there. Here it is. Hold on. Is it connected? Why don't I see anything? Let me just write something in here. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. It took a minute. I don't think anybody's actually in there, but I didn't want to be ignoring people if they were. No, I think we're okay. I just happened to realize that other thing I was looking at, that was not a chat window. There we go. Now I've got it built in between the other two. So now I've got all my chat windows in place. Sorry about that. I was just making sure I don't want to ignore anybody. But, like I said, I enjoy the sequels. I think they're fun movies, even with their flaws. And they do. They are flawed films, and they are not as powerful as the original was because they could never have been. So that's what I mean. So this one, where I was going with this long meandering thing I was doing, is if they're going to, because I liked the Animatrix. I actually still own a collection of the Matrix comics, many of which I think were good, or at least interesting, even if they weren't all great. If that's what the intent is, to make expanded universe Matrix stories, I'm interested. That's potentially a really good playground to explore things. That would, to me, be the way to do it, is no Neo, no Morpheus, no Trinity. We've gotten all the stories with those characters. They've been told. Leave it alone. Otherwise, you're just doing what Star Wars is doing, and you just can't let go of what was successful. You can't tell new stories, or it's rare. I mean, I was just watching Red Letter Media did a review of Andor, the Star Wars series, of which I have no interest in watching. I don't care how good it is. I didn't care for Rogue One, therefore I don't care about Andor. I just don't have any interest. But I have read and been told many times by people whose opinions I value that that what makes it worth watching, if I were to ever watch it, is the fact that it is departing from what Star Wars seemed like it was unable to depart from. It's not Skywalker. It's not all the same stuff that was there before. And if that is and that is what I would want, and that's why a lot of people like it. And like Star Wars Visions, which I do love. I've watched those and I love Star Wars Visions. I think that's a great series. And part of that is because it's departing from what, the Star Wars trappings. Yeah, there's lightsabers and there's Jedis and that type of thing. They're there, and you see some familiar ships here and there. You know it's Star Wars. It's not a completely alien concept. But it is trying to be different. It is trying to stretch the idea, especially season 2, where I believe it was the second season one where I don't like those lines, where they they got different countries, different cultures to interpret the Star Wars ideas, which I think is great. I think there was some really beautiful, neat stuff in there. And, again, it did feel like Star Wars. You knew what you were watching. There was still Jedi and Sith and all the rest of it, but it didn't feel like it was trapped in a way that, in particular, the live-action films feel. They don't feel like they have any confidence in telling stories that aren't tied to stuff we've already seen. And that's not interesting to me. So if this is just going to be more, if somehow they drag Carrie-Anne Moss or Lawrence Fishburne back into this thing, or what was it, the Agent Smith, Hugo Weaving, or Keanu Reeves, if I see their names associated with this stuff, forget it. For that to me just says you can't think of anything new. There is such an over-reliance now on just recycling the same old stuff. And that is not to say, because there are some people who you can't ever have fan service. I don't mind that stuff. I like seeing people pop up that I know. That's fun, but it can't be the whole thing. Let's see. I was in the unique position of being very young when all the films came out. A kid, old enough to appreciate everything visually, but young enough not to grasp the larger ideas about reality. Oh, yeah. Well, that's another part. That's another thing. Oh, wait. For that reason, my favorite of the trilogy are 2 and 3. See? Even when I got older, that was still true. It just became really appreciating the oneness of Neo and his journey. For me, it is the Chosen One story that I grew up with most. Everyone has theirs. The Bible, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, take your pick. Why not take your pick? You can pick them all. But yes, I agree. I like 2 and 3. I especially like 2. The only problem I really have with 3 is, and to some degree I think this was at least partially intentional, is the real world it gets a little bit boring when you sit in it for too long. The Matrix itself, like 2, is you got all these really exciting chase scenes and there's all this wild stuff being remixed all over the place. It's very visually interesting. And Zion is just a lot of gray and brown machinery and a lot of people in robes because, of course, they're living basically just trying to survive. It makes sense. It's just not as visually appealing anymore. But that's really my only, that's the most of my criticisms. The story is perfectly fine. And I like 2 a lot. I think 2 did a lot of great stuff. So, yeah, I agree. And it is interesting, that you can watch those movies and you don't have to know what's going on. I mean, I don't remember when I saw there was a video that I had seen on, because this I think is something that I have become more aware of particularly in the last, I want to say 10 years. I have really, really started to try to notice and appreciate things that I can't figure out. And what I mean by that is, I saw a really good video that talked about the fact that the Matrix videos are very much about the experience of being a trans individual. Now, I'm not a trans individual. I know a very small number of trans individuals, and none of them very well, just to be completely honest about it. I can't see things in those Matrix films that I think to people that are trans are very, very obvious. And when I watched this video, it was a YouTube video that somebody had done a long form thing, everything this individual was talking about made complete sense as to how this is a gigantically obvious, glaring bright light of this is an analog for what the trans experience is. It's when it's pointed out to me as a non-trans person, it makes complete sense. It looks obvious, but that's because somebody had to point it out to me. What I saw was a great action film, and I was seeing some of the political elements of it, but nothing At no point would I have naturally and organically on my own gotten to the point of saying, oh, even knowing, because I think when I watched that video, I don't know that both of the Wachowskis had transitioned. I know one had, but I don't know if both had at that point when I saw this. Prior to that, because, when these movies came out, they had not transitioned yet. It was some years after, or it may have been some years after the first one, let's put it that way. And then to see this explanation by this individual and saying, okay, this is what this is, that even the pill colors are the color of the pills for the hormones that trans individuals take. That it's a one-to-one lineup of it, all these things. And it then explains a lot of things that in the movie seemed interesting and different, but didn't necessarily have a significance to me, because I don't have the perspective to see that, because it's not my life experience. Once it's pointed out, it's one of those things you can't unsee it. It doesn't make the movie worse for me, because I've seen people, what doesn't ruin the movie? What are you talking about? It's still the same movie. What it does is it adds depth to it. It makes things that still work for me visually and are interesting and are fun to see. It adds a weight to them, because I understand that there's an intentional meaning behind them and what they symbolize. And I think also it's great that there's a group of people who inherently understood what was going on in that movie, and it was speaking to them. Just because it wasn't speaking to me the same way doesn't somehow change or ruin or degrade the movie. I don't understand that mentality. I just don't. I don't get that. When people say something ruins a film, what are you talking about? How can it ruin a movie? You liked this movie before. Short of it being something where you find out, like, okay, if a movie came out and people liked it, and you found out 5 years later that the creator of the movie had made it because it was secretly a message about how Nazis were right. Okay, that can ruin a movie. That's the type of thing that can ruin a movie, is if you find out that secretly you were supporting something that was very hateful. There is something like that in pop culture that's very large right now, but I'm not going to name it because I don't want to put anybody in a spotlight on it. But I also think the problem with that particular thing, and people will know what I'm talking about, I think, is that it also appeals to a lot of young children who don't know what's going on with that. So you have to kind of give that one a pass. Adults shouldn't, but you can't blame kids. Kids don't know. Kids to a certain age are not going to be aware of the political implications of what a creator of a franchise has suddenly started saying about people. I can't fault parents for not wanting their kids not to experience something fun because they don't understand what's going on. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is grown adults, people who can think, saying that a movie is ruined because it has a secondary meaning for a certain group of people. Nothing that will change any of the events in the movie. They didn't recut it. They didn't suddenly add voiceover. They didn't put graphics or new images in there that suddenly make something different. All they did was put in a secondary meaning, or really, depending on how you look at it, 3 or 4 meanings, into a movie that different people could respond to. Nothing about that ruins the film. Shut up. It's not ruining it for you. You're ruining it for you. There's nothing different about the movie. And that's the last thing I'll say about that. So I don't even know how I got onto that, but I agree. I like 1, 2, and 3 of the Matrix films. And I hope that what they do with the new one is a new story. Something completely separated outside of the Matrix concept itself. That's what I would like to see. If they're just going to drag Neo and the rest of them back out, or worse, they try to pick up one of the secondary characters and make them somehow important if they can't get the main cast back. I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it will make money because, unfortunately, people just now flock to these franchises, even if what's being done with them doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm sure it will make money, but I don't know that that's going to work out very well. Let me make sure. Yeah, I got that right. Anyway, so I am hopeful that they're going to take a new path. I am concerned that they won't. So we'll see. We'll see. But like I said, I'll do a 5 on it. It won't be obviously as long as, and it won't It won't contain everything. It'll be more of a general thing, because in 5 minutes I can't just say everything I just said in, how long was I talking for? 10 minutes? Feels like it was 2 hours. So like I said, at first I had this immediate kind of knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, no, don't do that. But then I read that quote about the new ideas. And see, that's the tricky bit. It bothered me in 4 that looked like John Wick. Well, that's what I mean. I don't really consider 4 to be a Matrix film. I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. I consider 4 to be a movie about the Matrix, but not a Matrix film. No, it's not a small nitpick, because I don't feel like that was an accident. I feel like that was because the purpose of the movie was not to really be a sequel to the film. I feel like that movie felt very specifically like a message film. That there were things that there was no attempt to wrap the messaging in any type of metaphor or symbolism. Instead, it was blunt force trauma. Hello, Cenotaph. Being able to meaningfully add multiple things that a viewer can relate to is... I agree. That's my point, is that's what drives me up a wall about people who somehow say that a movie is ruined because it can appeal to other people. I cannot wrap my head around that mentality. It's so weirdly reductive to me that art has to fit in a box. Maybe that's my core problem with it, is the idea that people just think that art has to conform to what they want it to mean, as opposed to trying to understand that there can be a lot more meaning than you initially think. Great art to me can speak to lots of people. And the minute that somebody says, no, it should only talk to one group of people, it should only mean one thing, well, I'm sorry, then you've lost me. You've just fundamentally lost me, and you're not going to get me back, because that just makes no sense to me. That's a very, very petty and regressive way to look at art in general. And I don't have a need to engage in that. But yeah, that's what I mean, Faint Waves. I look at 4 as a very interesting... I really like the fact that it was even made, because so much of it felt like a direct criticism at the studio that was allowing it to be made. And the really cynical way to look at that, and I'm not convinced this isn't exactly what was thought, is we don't care if they're criticizing us so long as this thing makes money. And it did make money. So, yeah, it's all they care about. Studios only care about if the thing makes some money and it gets eyeballs on it. So I think that people who run those studios now, they really don't care if you make a film that ridicules them, makes fun of their children, their mothers, their siblings, everybody they care about, as long as there's a buck in it. Which is an extraordinarily cynical way to look at the world, but I think it's the world that we live in. I'm not happy about it. I don't think it has to be that way, but I think that's the way that people allow it to be. So, all this a long way of saying my initial reaction to a new Matrix film was very negative, but now I'm kind of sitting here going, I want to wait and see what they start saying the story is going to be. What is this thing? Because it actually makes me want to go back and reread the Matrix comics, because I remember liking a lot of those. I just haven't read them in a while. Like I said, I have the collection about 50 feet from me. And I remember the reason I bought the collected thing was because I liked it. I remember reading them. I think I read them digitally. I want to say they released them on the website. I don't remember. This is a long time ago now. But I want to say they were released on the actual What is the Matrix website, where you could read all the comics, and then they published the collection. And I liked the digital comics enough that I bought the collection. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I am pretty sure that they were on there for... What is the Matrix still even up? Hold on, I'm very curious. I'll bet you it is. I think it was whatisthematrix.com, right? Hold on, I want to see. I'm just looking this up on my phone very quickly. What is the Matrix.com? Here it is. Let's see. Resurrections, was that the newest one? Yeah, Resurrections. Oh yeah, no, it's still there. Resurrections was the fourth film. Oh, and it's just a trailer for the movie. If you close it, Yeah, it's just, oh yeah, they've gotten rid of all the cool stuff though, it looks like. Oh no, universe, wait a minute, no they haven't. Oh, look at that! Oh, that's great. No, they still have all the old stuff on here. Oh, that's wild. A lot of it anyway. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Man, I remember those days when that was when that site was a huge deal and you were going to it to try to figure out what's going on with the movies and everything else. It was a wild time. A very different internet, a very different media landscape. I mean, wildly different at that point, but that was a fun time. It was a fun time. Which is not me going, oh, the internet used to be better. In my day, the internet was a place where it was fun, and now it's just ruined. I'm not like that, but it was a very different. Being online was a completely different concept back then, and nobody really knew what they were doing, which is what made it kind of wild because it was so much in flux, and people really were not. There weren't really established ways of doing much of anything, so it was interesting. Yeah, and I think, as depressing as this is going to sound, I believe that my generation is the last one to know. I think Gen X is the last one that knows a world where there wasn't the internet being on all the time. I do think it used to be better in the sense that it was in its infancy still being molded. Now it's being molded and it's ugly. Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, I feel like, is it's not that it's really ugly. It's simply that we are seeing in some ways the natural result of the amplification of how we are. The internet, because it's got this, I don't know, I'm going to use a term that I'm not even sure I'm using correctly, but it sounds right in my head. There's this abstraction layer that sits between people, what they're posting, and the people reading it. When you're sitting in a room with somebody, there's things you're not going to say to their face. Posting it, because there is this inherent distance shield that exists, that has given people this comfort to be, in some sense, their truer selves. Let's be honest. Because if somebody's saying this stuff, that means they were thinking it. Most times it's not being generated by the existence of the internet. That's not what makes people say and do terrible things and be greedy and be selfish and self-absorbed and petty. Those things don't come because of a cable connection in your house. Those things existed already. It's the fact that there is now a buffer and there isn't an inhibition because you can't see the effects. It's like an empathy dampener. That's what the internet really is. It's a way to separate the results of what you're doing from what you're doing. You're not seeing somebody. When you say something terrible to somebody, you see their reaction instantly, and you will know very many times instantly that you've made a mistake. You say something. I remember when I was very young. I remember this very clearly. This was back. I was back in New York, and it had snowed a bunch, and I had to get my car out of the driveway, and I was still living at home at that point. I miss the days of fighting for my time on the PC so I could go on the Pantera message board. Yeah. Oh, I remember. I have memories of the days where going online meant you knocked out the phone. I had to have my own phone line just for the internet. It was crazy. But when I was younger, the car was snowed in, and I was trying to get it cleaned off, and my mom came out, and she was saying something, and I was in a rush, and I was late for work, and I was angry because I think I'd slept there, and I said something mean to her. I mean, not terribly mean, but I said something because I snapped at her, and I just saw her face that she was hurt by what I said, and I instantly was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I immediately realized that I had done something stupid. You don't have that online now. That doesn't exist. You don't see what's going on. And so that's what I mean about there is this thing where people are, and this sounds really strange, and it's a perversion of what people normally would use this phrase for, but people are freer online to be themselves. Now that sounds like a good thing, and in some cases it is when it's a positive application of that term, but it's also a negative because, again, there's this kind of cloak of not even anonymity. I don't even think it's an anonymous thing, because people are like, oh, if you had to actually have your name online, you wouldn't say these things. Let me tell you something. These people would still say these things. That's not going to stop the worst of it. Not because their names are there. Those people don't care. They don't care. They believe what they're saying is right. They're going to keep saying it. And this idea that somehow having your name attached to it is going to make them be ashamed. No, they'll just get smarter about where the lines are as far as things that will cost them money or cost them a job. They're not going to stop saying those things. They will still say the things they're going to say. That's nonsense. But that's what I mean about it allows you to be more of yourself. And there's good and bad to that. And the bad, unfortunately, because the internet is an amplification engine, the bad things are worse. The good things are better. There are people in communities who would never have found each other without the internet that are able to talk. The forums for people going through different things. You know, my wife had to have major surgery for something, and there was a whole website and set of forums for people who were going through the same thing. And she found a lot of comfort in that, because it's one of those things where somebody, numbers of people were saying, this is what it is. Here's what you're going to go through. This is not something you're going through alone. Here's things that will help you. Here's things that will make it easier. And that was a tremendous benefit. I saw, once she had found that site over the course of a couple of days, how different she was, because she was so, obviously it was major surgery. I mean, this was not small surgery. She was terrified, as almost anybody going through surgery would be. And I'm not saying that she suddenly was fine with it, but the stress level was different. It was more of okay, this is still scary, but I know what this is, and I know people who've gone through it, and they're okay. And these are the things that will help me get through it. And I did everything I could, but of course, like so many things I've talked about, I wasn't the one having the surgery, and I had never gone through this particular type of thing. So my ability to try to help was inherently limited to at least some degree. But even I use that site for things. Okay, post-surgery, this is what you should get. This will make it easier. Get this, do this. Keep an eye out for this. That stuff helped me, and I wasn't even having the surgery. So that's the other side of it. As much as it can be terrible and people can be very cruel and mean and vicious and everything else, there are also people who would have had to go through terrible things or scary things alone that don't. That can find other people who are going through the same things and talk to those people, because maybe they don't have somebody in their life that they can talk to. I'm lucky and my wife was lucky. We have each other. So when there's scary things and terrible things, you have somebody as a support system. Not everybody has that, but there still are these resources for even people who may not have somebody in their physical lives that they can talk to. They still have a place to go. And I think that's great. That it doesn't offset the terribleness. It's going to exist. I don't know. There's nothing that, until they come up with a true empathy engine that lets people experience other people's lives and understand what the difficulties are and the struggles are, until that technology or whatever exists, you can't fix most of the bad stuff. I'll tell you, I think it would be a radically different world if people had the ability to experience the lives of others for a while. I think you would find that a lot of stuff that we think is unsolvable, things that people say, well, that's just how it is, I think a lot of that stuff might disappear pretty quickly. I just have a hunch. Maybe I'm being naive. I often am, but I have this suspicion that a lot of the things that people just take for granted or think can't be fixed or are too tough to fix, I think a lot of those things might disappear if they had the direct experience on people whose lives were tougher than theirs. Just a theory. What do I know? I'm just a dumb art student. That's what I always say. I'm just some dummy who draws things. I'm no great thinker. So, what the hell do I know? Oh, sorry, I don't really like to curse on the stream, even though I don't consider hell much of a curse since it's an actual location. I try to keep this family friendly, even though I'm talking about very weighty things. I try to do them in terms where I wouldn't want I honestly, my kind of outlook on these streams is I don't want a young child to accidentally stumble into this and hear me, you know, swearing my head off. I can talk about serious things because that's stuff for young kids. It'll just go over their heads. They won't really know what I'm talking about. They won't really care. But if they hear me saying the F word, they're gonna know what that is. They're gonna understand that pretty good. You know, there's no sugarcoating that. So, yeah. You know what I do? I don't want to do more of this line work right now. It's a lot of work. It takes a toll on the hand, I gotta tell you. So let me turn that off for a minute. I think I want to actually just, let me look up in the background here some Minidisc colors. Because I know a lot of Minidiscs has some really bright colors. What is thematrix.com? That is so crazy. Boy, oh boy, that's something. That takes me way back. I haven't looked at a dress up probably since the third movie came out. So it's been a while. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I could probably pick. Oh, yeah, there's all just different bright. Oh, so I have to consider. Actually, no, I don't. I think I'm going to do an orange one and kind of a teal one. Let's do that. Let's just get those. Unless it's just the metal flap that doesn't have color, right? Yeah, it's just the metal flap. Yeah, just the metal. Okay, that's what I thought, but I was just checking. So let's do a color layer. Let's put a little color in here. We'll put that above the sketch layer. No, I guess I shouldn't. I shouldn't put it above the sketch layer in case I need to. I can put it underneath. Let's do a nice teal. Ooh, that's not a bad color. Not teal enough though. Yeah, maybe that. Maybe something like that. Yeah, okay, let's do that. I can always change it later if I want to. So let's go ahead and get that Minidisc colored. Okay, come on. Let's get a real paintbrush going in here. Just so we have some color. And of course, I'm going to have to do, you know, the CDs. The actual disc underneath is going to have some reflection and stuff to it. But, yeah, we'll see. I really hope that they do something interesting in that new movie. Because like I said, I still am a fan of the expanded universe for the Matrix stuff. I think they really had they knew they had a nice, big, open concept that they could do a lot of interesting things with, and I think they did. I think they told a lot of different stories. And I remember, like I said, I haven't read it in a while, so I am going to probably this weekend, maybe I'll grab that anthology and go through it again. It'll be a nice trip back in time, because I think I've had that collection for quite a while. So I'm pretty sure that's the same original one I bought however many years ago. So that's one of the older ones I've got. I don't know what is the oldest comic that I've got as far as collections. I have almost no, original comics. I went to the bone there. Didn't mean to. So I know I don't have a ton of that. I think The Crow. It might be The Crow. I think The Crow might be the oldest graphic novel I've got, because when I was younger, I collected actual comics. I wasn't just getting the graphic novels. Now I just get graphic novels when I don't buy them digitally. But when I was younger, I was collecting the issues. I had the boxes and all the rest of it. But I think The Crow, because that one was independent and it was smaller, I don't think you could get the original comic, or at least I couldn't. I wasn't going to go out and spend a bunch of money, but I don't even remember them being available. I think the only thing I remember was the book, the collected version of it. So that's probably the oldest comic I've got. Yeah, as far as collections, I do have. Oh, I just noticed that. Hold on, let me turn that off. The RoboCop comic books, the individual Lobo books, like the RoboCop stuff. And the Trencher books probably are the oldest individual comics I've got. Because I sold a lot of. I didn't even sell them. I gave a lot of them away. I didn't keep a lot of that stuff. So now it's all just I think the oldest comic I have is probably the Crow graphic novel. If I had to guess, that would be my guess. Speaking of remakes that I'm not expecting to be good. Crow remake. I already did my 5 on that. I just don't understand. Another concept that you could go and do big and interesting new things with, and instead we just run back to the same character. The same character we've already done. And And that is somehow supposed to be a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. But anyway. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is going to be a good color. I think I'll keep this color. I always have liked teal. Teal's a fun color. Let me push this toothbrush, this paintbrush, it's not a toothbrush, the paintbrush up higher just to fill that in. And yeah, I think the one in the back will be like a orange of some kind. Whoops, went too far on that one. And where are we on the stream here? Well, about 50 minutes, so we're going to probably wrap this up pretty soon. I think I'll do that other color, and then that'll do it. Because generally, oh no, it's still there. Okay, I thought it had disappeared. It's just the way the windows were positioned. Because the iPad is starting to get a little warmth to it, and once it starts getting warm, it don't stop. It can, whoa, what is that? Is that the finger? Is that what that is back there? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, it's the finger, because there is going to be some level of, I'm going to have to transparency that back finger somehow, because you can see through the mini. Actually, no, where that is, you can't see that, because that's where the disc is. So no, that needs to get masked out. I think I was keeping it there because I forgot that this should be masked out, because you won't be able to see that behind the actual disc. So I just saved myself a little bit of work later, because that would not be visible. So we can go ahead and just mask that right out. Very nice. Well, that makes that easy. And then we're going to do another color, and we're going to do a nice orange this time. Oh, I wasn't thinking what I was doing. Something like that. We'll go back here. And let's get the big paintbrush. I can always, yeah, maybe that won't be the final orange, but I can block it in at least. I can just get it in here for now, and then I can always fine-tune the color later. I'll probably be streaming tomorrow, roughly about the same time, possibly for a little longer. I meant to do it Tuesday, Thursday, but I actually did 2 podcasts on yesterday. One will be the one for the Friday show, and then the second part of the latest double feature that will be coming out. So I did about 6 hours of podcast recording yesterday. So I'll be honest with you, I didn't really feel like doing any streaming after that, because that was a lot. I didn't mind it. It was a blast, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? I don't think I feel like streaming after all that. I think maybe my voice is probably going to be shot. So I didn't. But it was a lot of fun. But that's why normally I've been trying to do Tuesday, Thursdays for the streams, but the last 2 Tuesdays I've missed. So I did want to do it 2 times this week, because now that I have all my kind of streaming setup down and everything, and it appears to be working fairly well, I was like, okay, well, technical challenges, knock on wood, appear to be solved for the moment. So I would like to start streaming kind of a little bit more often. And that way, too, if I have to cut a stream short for some reason, it's not as big a deal, because there'll be another one. So, yes, my plan is to stream tomorrow, roughly the same time. Keep going on this image. Probably get back to those lines, the detail lines. Or maybe I'll do like half the detail lines and then do the rest in color, so I give myself a break. Don't get me wrong, I love those detail lines. I like it when they're done. I just don't. They're not really fun to do. It's a lot. It's a lot. Oh, I missed a little spot over here. I forgot about this little area. You know, actually, I can go back to the paintbrush and just make it smaller. Drop it back down to like maybe 8 or so. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's good. Use that. That still makes it a little quicker. So, yes, that is the plan. Plan for another stream tomorrow. Yep. Same bat time, same bat channels. I also really do like that I have the single landing page now. I've actually been finally getting around to doing things that I've been planning to do forever, and I'm finally, you get to a point where you're just like, okay, you have been in your head thinking about doing this for how long? Just get it done with. I actually put myself into a corner where I had to do the new support page for the show. Not that I'm expecting it to get much utilization, but I've been meaning to just build, instead of having to say all these addresses at the beginning of the show, go here, do this, just one page, go to this address. And everything as far as supporting the show is in one spot, and you can just go do whatever you want right there. Yeah, that's definitely a weird orange. And we can, yeah, something like that makes more sense. Like a little bit of dullness to it, but that's a better color. Yeah, that's more like what they made this look like. Okay, well, good. I found this to be a, what's the word for it? A productive stream. So I'm going to bring the stream to a close, also because my dog wants to eat her dinner. And I'm already 4 minutes late, and you better believe she knows what time it is. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this stream to a close. But thank you for Cenotaph and Faint Waves for stopping by. It was a lot of fun chatting and reminiscing about the Matrix and the previous version of the internet, previously on the internet. Talking about that stuff was fun. Sorry if I went off on a bit of a soapbox tangent for a while. I just sometimes don't understand people. I'm sure, though, a lot of people don't understand me. That's the nature of the world, so I try not to get too wrapped up in it, and remember that as mystified as I can be by people, I'm sure there are people that are mystified by me. And that is both the wonderful and the tough part of all of us being individual minds and individual thoughts and beings on the planet. It makes it very tough to truly know each other. But it's a worthy effort to try. As hippy-dippy as that sounds. Anyway, that's going to do it for this particular stream. Thank you for stopping by, whether it's live or later. Doesn't matter to me. I just appreciate the people come by and experience a little bit of creativity, because I think it's very good for you. I think it's good for your mind, your body, and your soul. So go watch somebody else draw for a while after this, or play music, or do something. Or even play video games. That's a creative expression. Go watch somebody play Baldur's Gate 3. Get a lot of sense about what a person's inner workings are by watching them play an RPG where they have to make weighty decisions that have consequences. That game is a personality test and a half. On that note, like I said, I will be back for another stream, if you're watching this live, tomorrow. At least that's the plan, assuming nothing, I have power and everything, which I hope I do. Outside of that, thank you for stopping by and chatting if you were chatting. So Cenotaph, Faint Waves, thanks for sitting here and talking a bit. I'm glad all the chat stuff seems to be working. So far, everything seems to be working, which I'm very, very excited about, because I was having my problems with it. But it does appear to be working pretty well right now. So on that note, again, appreciate you coming by. And until the next stream, I want to figure out something to say between until the next stream, insert phrase here, then take care. I need something else. I got to workshop that. But until I figure that out, until the next stream, insert placeholder phrase,